Somewhere is a place where the dragons reign. Nah, just kidding. That's how I once, like 15 years ago, started a guide for Blademistress Returns. The Blademistress is old, very old, and one of the first online games I've ever played. Early 2000 it was released. I have videos I made 14 years ago, and there was a remake called Blademistress Returns. I even tried my hand remaking it in Unity once. Fortune has it, it's back. It's now actually available on Steam for free, and more than that, it's being actively updated. A few years ago, the original developer released the source code, and I went through it and even installed it, including a few ancient programs, but I just didn't have the time to commit to it. But luckily, someone else did, so now we can all play this ancient gem. At first glance, everything looks confusing, so let's get through all of it with you, starting with character creation. The game is actually designed so the player has multiple characters that complement each other. And let's go through the first basic class, the fighter. You can simply create a fighter by adding as much as possible in the physical stat. There are several ways to boost it later, but for now your character will have 10 points, which will reflect in the damage the character will do with melee weapons. Your fighter will be your primary source for income, as it will slay powerful monsters with incredible loot. Once starting with a fighter, you will spawn in the main city called Fingal, and you will start with 100 gold, a pointy stick and a few tin ingots. In front of you, you will see a blue NPC, and the game is built in tiles where you can move to. You have to be on the same tile with a monster or a character to be able to interact with it. The blue NPC is a merchant, and every town has them. You can click and hold your left mouse button and then choose trade. Every merchant has a certain amount of basic materials, like beads, ingots and weapons, but other things like totems will be unique for each town. For now, click on the inventory in the top right to sell the ingots by left click and holding the mouse button, and drag to sell 5. With the 102 gold you now have, you can at least buy a slightly better weapon. You can then go back to inventory and choose use on the weapon to get it equipped. The weapon is now carried, and this is the second top right tab with the icon. The best weapon is always the one carried, regardless of how many are in the list, and you can now unequip the pointy stick to be able to sell it. You can look around by holding the right mouse button, but an easier and better way is just use A and D buttons on the keyboard or the arrow keys left and right. As a fighter you will need a few skills, so look around and find a green NPC called a trainer in the town. Hold click on the trainer and choose learn to get a list of skills. As a fighter you are bad at everything, except of course fighting, so you don't want to learn anything like magic. You could however learn everything initially just to get a minor boost in level. For now use the left hand side sword up to go to the top of the list until you see dodging. Acquire this skill and also acquire all mastery skills. If you now choose the most right side tab with the book icon or press 4 on your keyboard, you can see which skills you learned. You will still be level 0 for a moment with 80 health, and for reference, especially when you initially learn the magics, that will really boost your level early on. If you would learn all the skills, after a short delay you will notice yourself being level 4 with 84 health. The last character you will see in the town that is relevant is the red NPC, and this is the town mage. Here you can teleport to other towns, heal yourself or use account storage. This last one is incredibly important as all characters share the same storage. That means your fighter can loot and plunder and store in the storage, so later your other characters have the materials to craft and use magic. If I now were to move to a tile outside town with a monster, a slitis or a wooden golem, you will get hit and you automatically attack the nearest creature. And every time you get hit you will gain dodging experience, depending on the level of the monster versus your own dodging level. If you check monster levels you will see that the common minotaur is level 2, so every hit on the level 1 dodge level adds 1 dodge experience. However, a tawny minotaur is level 3, so will give you 2 dodge experience per hit. This is capped out at 10 experience per hit, so you will get no experience for a monster that is more than 11 levels higher than your dodge level. A great way to get your first dodge levels is a bit northwest of Fingal, where hunting spiders, which are level 6, will be. The hunting spiders will be coming for you if you hit 1, so be careful, but each hit will give you around 5 experience. Once you get your first 100 experience you will gain your first dodge level, and this will take around 10 seconds before it applies, so be patient. The dodge level is easily calculated as it's your current level times 100, so level 2 requires 1 times 1 is 1 times 100, and level 3 then requires 2 times 2 is 4, times 100 is 400. The screens don't auto-refresh, but you can just press 4 twice or click again on the skill icon to update the values. You can also be brave and go for the venomous level 10 spiders, which will give you a lot more experience. A bit further northeast from the spiders you will suddenly find a cave. And caves are very important for your first loot, as they contain tremendous treasure. But this could easily be looted by others, as it does have a respawn timer. Every cave contains 3 chests. You can open the chest, then trade or check round to loot the contents. It can have golden necklaces or glowing blue dust, and both very important to build your first cash flow. The dust will be explained later, but will be the most important item in game and comes in several colors. If you die while hunting, you will spawn back in town. So let's hurry back to the merchant and choose sell all simple loot. This will get you your first money and probably enough to get a better sword. Then make sure to salt all meat, if you found any. Meat is very important, both as pet food and geomancy. And this will all be explained later, but just don't sell it. Salt it and store it. You can also spend some money on the Fingal Recall, which is a scroll to let you return to town from any place in the world. With the dungeon being so lucrative, as a young character you might want to focus on doing some more runs. Luckily, simply pressing the M button will give you all the information you need, being all locations of all crypts, dungeons and labyrinths. In the top left you will find your current coordinates, so just find one close and start moving. Pressing M again will open the real map and you will see yourself as a flickering red dot. This is the overworld map or normal realm, but there will be plenty of other regions to explore, from spirit realms to dragon realms to underworlds. Going northeast from Fingal will set you en route to 3 dungeons, and these will be increasingly more dangerous. You will also find red glowing tiles with much stronger monsters. Going on these tiles will set you up for a fight, as you can't leave until the tile is completely empty and everything is slain. In dungeons you can also find spirits. They will always come at you if they are within one tile and can even go through walls. And most of them are quite strong, but running diagonal will help you avoid them chasing you. The courts 1 and 1 will always be the exit, and overworld dungeons are just 10 by 10, but later dungeons can be much larger. Running into another town, it's always handy to get more of the recall scrolls there, and once you have some money you can use the town mages to teleport to all towns to get pretty much all the recall scrolls. This is because sometimes in chat you'll see messages like a strange power gathers in this or that town, and that will be a sort of invasion. And many monsters, often powerful, will gather, and slaying them will be a challenge and may require friends. Or another message may be there's a lightning strike at a certain location, and these cost storm creatures to spawn, which will eventually start dropping very good loot. You can filter from the option menus what chat messages are shown, like your own hits, or hide the simple loot. This also includes a click to move, as it can be annoying to accidentally walk to other tiles. There is no such thing as equipment, but there are visual upgrades however, which can be received by slaying powerful bosses, and there are totems, which will be explained in a minute. You quickly find out that you can't hit everything yet with your current sword, and this is because of the hit bonus on your weapon. In towns you can also find witches who will give you quests, and some quests can be really hard and will require you to be powerful, like to teleport to the labyrinth, which is a massive, very difficult dungeon. As a fighter you also learned mastery for every weapon type. And every level of mastery you will do more damage with that weapon type. This will increase with your mastery level times physical stats divided by 2. 10 times 2 divided by 2 is 10 damage extra. Every master level requires 100,000 experience, and you will gain 1 mastery for each hit you do with the weapon. This is very hard to level, but there is a punching bag you can use in pretty much every town if you have nothing else to do. Sometimes you'll find yourself running into towers. These are guild towers and can be requested on any locations if you have a strong guild. They may hold magic tokens which can be found randomly in the world unless claimed by another guild. Then that guild will gain a strong buff for a short time before the token is randomly placed in the world again. That means every great magic power in this world has a token and a tree. The locations of the trees you can find on the map, and these are very important for mages. Because being all weak is just not fun, so we're going to need some buffs to really get stronger. This is why you will need a mage with a high magical stat, preferably 10 for now. Where a fighter excels in melee weapons, a mage will excel in drakes, staffs and totems. But let's first focus on the totems. To get started, the mage will need some money, which your fighter should have provided by now and could be removed from the storage if placed in there by clicking on the amount in the storage. Next up, the trainer must be there to train all mage skills, like bear magic, wolf magic, etc. Same as the trees you found on the map. Every magic has a patron in the form of an animal or a celestial being and grants certain powers. Besides the magic, also learn Geomancy and Totem Shatter. You can freely learn all other skills, but for now just don't, because it will just be confusing in your skill menu. Whatever you do, it's wise to first get the mage skills, so they will always fit in one screen without any other skills cluttering the screen. As a simple mage, first get some wood totems, just to see how you will fare. Start by including a totem onto your workbench. The workbench is the third tab with the anvil icon, and you can also press 3 to get there directly. There are many types of totems. The better the totem material, the stronger the effect and the longer the duration. And the first totem is accuracy. This will add to your hit chance, allowing you to hit higher monsters easier. To make an accuracy totem, use eagle magic first, wait for it to complete the imbuing, then use eagle magic again, and then use sun magic, and just keep your eyes on the chat. The magic must infuse the totem, or it failed. If you would check the totem halfway, without completing the entire sequence, it will show a minus timer as a certain type. For example, accuracy, but with a minus timer. With Eagle Sun, you will successfully make a proper wooden accuracy totem lasting 35 minutes. As you can see in chat, the task difficulty is 0, so let's see if a better totem can be infused being a full mage. Repeat the process with a clay totem and you will quickly find out a new mage has no problem with this one as well. The clay totem nearly lasts for 2.5 hours. Every magic level will cost 30 experience, so infusing a totem with the same magic 30 times would level it up to level 2. However, doing so will easily break a totem, especially the weaker ones. After 15 imbues, the totem shatters, and you can make it a bit quicker by using the control key and then hold the magic shortcut. Eagle will be control key plus 3. After one level you will quickly find your work value to be much higher, which means you can make higher totems. With a level in Eagle and Sun, it's very easy to even imbue the best totems available in Fingal, the leather totems, which will last even longer and are more powerful. The second totem you want is the healing totem, using wolf, frog, and turtle. And this will strongly boost your regeneration. Then the third totem will be the quickness totem, which will increase your natural dodge chance. This is also important because you want to fight monsters up to 10 levels higher to get the most experience for your dodge. It's made using Eagle, Snake and Moon. Now leveling these totems can be quite the daunting and boring task. Luckily it goes faster as you target higher totems. The leather totems will already grant you 2 experience per try, even if you fail to imbue the totem. This means you can simply buy high totems to level your magic up fast. Unfortunately, this only goes to 4 with totems depending on your skills. The town mage can teleport you forward to Binu, which will have shale, iron and stone totems. The iron totem will be the bestest skill from level 1 to 2, as it gives 4 experience per try. After your level you can use a shale totem to still get the 4 experience per try. However, if you use higher totems, you fail more, and failing comes with another negative side effect, namely that it can destroy the totem. Regardless, using this tactic you can quickly level to level 3 in all magics, which will help you create a strong set of totems for your fighter. It's best not to use the same magic all the time, but mix it up a bit so the totems last longer. Now it's a small grind to get all magics to level 3, and your character will be around level 8 once you're done. The previous 3 totems mentioned can be made as shield totems now, which will be almost good for a full day. There's a small chance you still fail the imbue, so keep your eyes on that and repeat the magic again if it fails. The 4th totem is strength, which will just plainly increase your damage. It's done using bear, and then turtle. Then comes the spirit protection totem, which will be very useful to strongly protect you against spirit monsters. It's made using wolf, snake, frog, moon and then moon again. The 6th totem will be equivalent to a proper armor and is called the toughness totem. It's made with bear, sun. An optional one is the web protection totem against those nasty high level spiders who can root you in one place. You use bear, wolf, eagle, frog, turtle and turtle again. And then comes the last and the most important one, the lifesteal totem, which will grant you health each hit you make. Use wolf, snake, frog, moon, evil and evil again for this totem. There are more totems, like an optional one, the focus totem, and those will save you from one shots. It requires 3 imbues of each magic, which can become really hard for low level totems, but ideal for skilling the totem, as you keep using each magic. With the set made and the focus probably twice filled, it's a small push to get all to level 4, and you will be most likely above level 10. Then you can put this set of totems straight to the storage for your fighter. After reaching level 4 in the magics, look at your other skill called Geomancy. It's one of the most essential skills to level up your fighter fast. It is, however, also hard to master, as you have to make sure to use the correct combination to make the perfect dungeon. Yes, you heard that right, you can create your own dungeon. The first thing is to get some meat. Either use the salted meat from your storage or hunt some monsters to find meat. And then we get a plain beet from the merchant. Include the meat and the plain beet in your workbench, and you can combine multiple meats if you want, but for now we use one type. For example, the Minotaur meat, but Slitis will also count as Minotaur. Now use the Geomancy skill, and unlike your magic skills, Geomancy will always increase based on your work value rounded down. So if you have 3.15 work value, you gain 3 experience. This means on higher levels you will create much more work value and thus level up faster. And lo and behold, after using Geomancy we create a 220 meter earth key. If you were to try this again with 2 plain beets, this will fail, as it's still way too complicated. But you probably see where this is going. More material is more depth, is higher level monsters. Let's store the earth key in storage as well, and for now we did everything we needed on the mage. You can make some extra earth keys if desired before switching. Now switch back to the fighter. Get the materials from the storage, both the keys and the totems, and use all the totems, just like your weapon. And let's first try our new totems on the spiders. You will now 3-shot the spiders, and although you still need to run away sometimes, you can hold your own much better now. So much so that you may even dare to peel away at the venomous spiders, which will give you much more experience. But this will be very hard, and you can first either go for stronger totems or slowly peel away at the spiders. Another problem will be the respawns, but if you are persistent, you can finally face the demon spider, which alone isn't too scary. And now it's time to activate the earth key to see what we will find there. You will be in your own dungeon and you can kill all monsters inside. The level 22 depth will be 1 level above normal, which means all Minotaurs should be easily finished off, except maybe the Demon Minotaur, which will be level 8. The first dungeons are 10 by 10, but will be bigger once you level. The opposite corner will always have the exit, but is guarded by a sentinel. This may be too much for you, and chances are you can't get to the chest then. A better sword or a better totem set may be required. For example, the Minotaur Geo has a Minotaur Sentinel, which is a high level demon, which is very strong and you probably won't be able to defeat it. But if you made a Saber-tooth Geo, you will have a Jaguar Sentinel, which is a lot lower level. This way you will be able to get to the chest in the end containing a hard gem, and these gems will help you build better Geos, as they increase the depth but don't add much extra workload. On rare occasions you will find an intruder, and they can be found in one of the other 2 corners. For a 10 by 10, it can be on the chords 3-3 or 8-8. And this is a completely other type of monster called a Vagabond, and he will drop increasing amount of very good loot depending on the Geo depth. In this specific dungeon it was a spirit, which is very hard to kill, but nevertheless spirit Geos will be the most useful Geos, because you can simply hoard up a large group of monsters together, since they come through walls and everything at you, and then you can use them to scale your dodge level extremely fast. But for that I first need a few items. And 1 is a better weapon, as I struggle greatly to hit higher monsters, and 2 is spirit meat, of course. With both of these present, it's important to calculate the perfect depth. And I leave a sheet in the comments which you can use, make a copy of it, and you'll fill in your current dodge experience, and then the spirit you have meat for, and try to make sure it's the perfect depth. Just make sure they don't overpower you, so you need a strong totem set. And after 5 or 6 levels, the gain is pretty low, so best to start a new Geo, which is a bit deeper, and just repeat the process. Another great advantage of Spirit Geos is that you can lure the end boss away from the chest to always get the chest. And once you obtained 1 meat from a type of monster, it's very easy to get more of that by simply clearing the entire Geo. Once a certain level you are ready to age, which means better stats, like double health. For this you will need a friend who can help you out, and you have to find a stone circle, and 1 is near Mangle. Teleport twice back from Fingal to get there. You will utter the word Metamoris in chat, and your friend will reply with Polyvacus. These are power words. Don't forget to do it the other way around if your friend needs to H2. You will now be much stronger, and if you help someone out you also obtain the Demon Amulet. Hold on to that as it's very valuable. Let's focus first on the better weapon, and for that we need a smith. So let's create a smith with a 10 creative stat. The smith will need a few skills to get started. Focus on getting the explosive skill, swordsmith and the expertise skills. Lastly, you can also get weapon dismantle. Next, spend money on getting all the ingots for tin, aluminum and steel from all the finger merchants. This will get you something to get started with. If you include 10 ingots in your workbench and you'll use swordsmith, you notice you need the same amount of work value to complete the project. Since you will not have that amount, you can exclude those and add just 5 to get a tin knife. Tin is the lowest metal and each tin ingot has a power of 1, which simply means each added metal requires 1 more extra work value to be completed. For reference, aluminum has a power of 2, so those require 2 times more the amount of work value being 40. And the task difficulty will never be higher than the power times 64, as that is of a great sword, which is the largest sword you can make with swordsmithing. But there are 2 exceptions. Combining multiple metals will increase the difficulty much more, with a great margin. That's the amount of metals times 128 times the sum of the power. Adding dusts to the weapon will also increase the work value by 0.2 per dust. You quickly realize you won't have a chance to make a decent sword, at least not better than the one you got from the trader earlier. Thus you must skill this up first. The amount of work value, just like Geos, you add will be the experience you get rounded down. It doesn't matter if you make something or not. This means you may as well add a whole bunch of ingots and start spamming the swordsmithing. Ctrl plus O is the hotkey for that skill. To skill up a bit, just load the workbench with 500 aluminum and 510 and go wild. You'll notice it will level incredibly fast, sometimes a skill level per 3 tries. The way swordsmithing level is gained is the current level times the current level times 30. Just keep going until you made the first aluminum tin greatsword. This won't take long at all. To even begin using an expertise, you will need 20 swordsmith skill, and this is your first goal. This will require 12,000 experience in swordsmithing. Well, after about 30 minutes and 50 levels later, the first greatsword was finally made. The more metals you combine, the larger the blades become, and they can become really big. From that point you can start working on katana expertise to make a tachi. This is incredibly important, as the greatsword may not be that interesting, but the tachi will have a standard plus 20 hit rate, which means you can hit monsters up to level 20 easy. All the multi-metal is fun, but a single blade is much easier and much stronger, of course, as you can build a much higher level metal with the same workforce. Multi-metal blades become ideal for leveling your swordsmithing due to the minor metal loss, but the blade you need for your fighter will be a single metal with as much power as possible. Of course, a katana is the best beginner weapon, but if you manage to gather some dust, you can add it to any weapon to make it better. The dust, however, will make it harder to succeed, and it's best to save up around 100 at least, but for the sake of this tutorial, we'll do it like this. Chaos blades can do up to 3 times damage. Maces have a flat plus 30 damage bonus. Blade staffs can hit all monsters in a square. Claws can stun enemies, and sights are for beastmasters. For the dust you put on them, there are many colors. Every blue dust adds plus 1 level to hit, which means you can hit higher monsters better. Red dust slows down the enemies, which helps you get less damage, and white dust can blind enemies. Silver dust does extra lightning damage and can stun. Green dust adds to loot bonus. Black dust reduces resistance to other dusts like the red and white, and makes it thus easier to apply status effects. There's also gold dust for taming. For most counts, the more dust, the better the effect. You can also dismantle weapons to get half the materials back, but it's harder to get the dust back. When a weapon is aged up to 220,000 hits, you can also get charge when dismantling, but the sword must have at least 72 powers, and also when dismantling you will lose some dust on the sword. It needs to keep some of the dust to be able to even create the shard, which means your dismantle skill must be strong enough to succeed. Every expertise weapon is made from a greatsword for most damage. This will cost you 64 ingots. However, you can also create a smaller blade with less ingots. For example, a dirk is only 1 ingot, a knife is 4, sword is 8, sword is 16 and a longsword is 32. Also, when expertising, you can make smaller variants. Like for the katana, you have the tanto for 1 extra ingot. You can make a katana itself for 20. And the best is of course the tachi, which will cost you 32. So that means for the best weapon, you need 64 ingots for the greatsword, plus 32 for the tachi is 96 ingots. Some people don't use expertise right away on a greatsword, because if you first decide to age that sword and it becomes ancient, if you then use it to make the expertise weapon out of it, it will do double damage. This has another advantage, as you can first add some of the dust to the greatsword and later add the rest of the dust when expertising the blade. Be aware that trying to make a better blade without having the skills to do so will have a chance of losing ingots and even dusts, so you don't want to fail the craft. Lastly, as a smith you can make bombs using the explosive skills. You will need bricks for this, and you can also add meats to change the color of the bomb. Earlier, when aging your fighter, you got a demon amulet. All you need to do is drop that in front of a guardian dragon to create a massive monster called a posse. Depending on your level, this monster will become incredibly strong, but also drop amazing loot. You could bring your friends or a very high totem set to beat this. The strength of the posse is determined by the weapons you're wielding and some of your skills the moment you drop the amulet. The normal realm is not overly big, but there are many worlds you can visit, like the spirit realm, the dragon realm and the labyrinth and more. Those areas will contain a lot of very strong bosses which drop high level metals and dust you can't obtain somewhere else. Also, your character will gain more and more visual upgrades if you defeat the boss for the first time, like a bracelet, armbands and more. This game is currently well developed, for the first time in decades, even with a new class called the Beastmaster. This will let you summon powerful monsters to fight or become yourself. When you start with a Beastmaster, you will have a sickle and a wooden golem pet. You just have to learn 4 skills: pet mastery, pet energy, taming and sight mastery. You also have a chance of obtaining gold dust from monsters you kill with your pet. You can't tame too many monsters at first, but there's a list. Follow the list to upgrade your pet. You must follow that specific list and all the pets will be unavailable for taming. Start by upgrading your wooden column for a decaying golem, and once tamed it will replace the old pet. The pet will absorb the hits for you and do the fighting, unless it dies of course. You can also click on yourself and send out pet. This way you don't have to put yourself in harm's way the moment your pet dies. You can then control the pet and can always click the pet to recall it back to you. If you tame a new pet, the old pet will be stabled and become an item in your inventory. You can let this pet out when you are in town. And then you should be ready for the next golem, the dirt golem. Unfortunately, cheating your way to a geo for a dirt golem is not working, as it's untamable there. You'll have to look for it in the sandy or mountainous areas, but that will give you a good reason to explore a bit. Unlike the follow-up, the iron golem, which is just near the towns. Your taming skill will keep track of your current max tamed monster, but will also show what the max is of what the sight can do. You start with a decent powerful sight that can tame up to level 15, which will help you get started. If you want to go higher, you will need the gold dusts you found. This will bring you back to your mage, and also comes with a better, but more expensive way to level your magic skills. Namely with staves. This is because we need a taming staff as well for the Beastmaster. Imbuing a pine staff on level 4 magic will give you 8 experience, and on level 5 it will give you 7 experience, which is pretty much double you can get from totems. So leveling becomes a breeze. But staves break easy, so this might become expensive. A stave needs to be inbuilt 30 times, and any fail can break it, so they are much harder to create than totems. There are quite some different types of staves. Of course the primary goal is a taming staff, but the mage can also make, for example, a fire staff. This will do high damage to a single mob, and there's also a din variant. This is less damage, but will affect both the entire tile and the tiles directly adjacent. The staves will have a certain amount of charges, however, and this depends solely on the level of the first magic you cast on the staff. So a higher level mage can both make staves of higher quality, which will affect the damage, as make many charges on a single staff. Next step is to use the storage to pass the taming staff to your crafter. This crafter will first need to make a greatsword and need to have as much gold dust as possible to that greatsword. By placing ingots and gold dust to the workbench. After making the greatsword, the tooltip will tell you up to which level it can tame, depending on the gold dust. You can then add the greatsword and the taming staff to the workbench and use sight expertise. If this succeeds, you will have a beautiful sight with a golden glow. The one in this example is a waste, as it only goes to level 3, while the starting sight goes to level 15, so you can tame a dirt golem with it, but that's it. So you then realize you need a lot of gold dust to even exceed the first level sight. The level it refers to is the experience in the taming skill, which is more like a tracker, while the taming itself just stays on 1. Pets can get stronger themselves by killing monsters with a 2 hit level greater than their defense. There are great events in the normal realm like summoning revenants, which you will see in chat when they are summoned. They can drop an enormous amount of items, and the Beastmaster excels in early tankability if you have, for example, a golem, which can help you both level fast and get a lot of great items. But nothing can beat the good old dodge when it comes to clearing strong monsters out. Instead of making a pure character, you can just also start with a 4/4 character or a 6/5/1, and this way you can do everything yourself but slower and slightly less successful. But at least you can both hatch dragons and fight with weapons for more damage. The last important element for now is drakes. Drakes come from eggs, and the easiest way to get them is simply slaying dragons. Drakes will fight for you and can make a mage incredibly powerful, as they usually don't have a good stat in physical damage. The lowest stat to summon a drake is the plain red drake with a 4 magic stat. So if you want to use those, make sure you have 4 magic stats on your character. Each drake has its own benefits, like a red drake does bonus damage and a green drake heals you. A drake lives for about 16 hours in-game time and will go through several stages. Young drakes are pretty weak, but older drakes will become much stronger. Every drake has its preferred food, and depending on the food you can unlock bonuses. If you want to power them up in the next life stage, which is about 4 hours in-game time, you give them power food. For a red drake, this is minotaur meat on its first stage. Or if you want them to change color, give it golem meat. Or if you want the drake to lay eggs, tiger or plant meat will do. Laying eggs will also be the right way to get striped, spotted and hooded variants, which are much more powerful. This game has tremendous depth, and the map will tell you how to get to at least the spirit and the mystic realm and the realm of the dead by killing the bone warrior or the spear division. There are also power words you can use to get there as well. Here powerful bosses will await you, which you can defeat for rewards, and this will help you get even stronger, to eventually maybe be able to defeat the legendary bosses like Samael. I hope to see you in game, and join the Blademistress Discord for extensive guides on every aspect of the game to help you further.